Hello, dear friends, how are you? Quite often we think and we talk about, we keep worrying about our enemies, our opponents, that they are trying to harm us. We are often looking upon the difficulties and the challenges in my life and your life which are not allowing me to proceed, to develop, to go forward, and to achieve what we want to achieve, to live a life what is our dream life. All of that is okay. All the challenges, all the enemies, the opponents, that should be taken care of without going into the details. One thing is there, which is the biggest enemy of us all, but we don't pay attention to that. It is actually all the enemies combined, all the opponents combined. They cannot harm us the way this one enemy or opponent is harming us, creating the difficulties, the troubles in my life, in your life, and that is a hidden enemy. We are least aware of least aware of it. It is the enemy of negative self-talk, unconventional enemy. Believe me or not, that all the enemies combined, all the enemies opponents combined, cannot harm us the way this one enemy does it to us, to our life. And it is being taken for, it is the lethal effects of this enemy are much underestimated. We don't prepare for it. We think that that is so easy to do, although it is not as easy, and it has to be taken systematically. It is the biggest challenge in our life, and once it all we succeed in overcoming it, I believe that the rest of the challenges does not pose that much threat to us at all. So for that reason and purpose, today we have taken it to task, and certain very important tips are going to be shared here for the purpose of dealing this bigger enemy in a successful manner, in an effective manner. So first, there are several points to understand. The first one is understanding the negative self-talk. Understanding the negative self-talk. Recognize the enemy. Become aware of your inner critic and its negative messages. Recognizing the enemy, become aware of your inner critic and its negative messages. The second point to understand here is identify triggers. Identification of the triggers. Notice situations, notice emotions, or notice thoughts. Situations, emotions, or thoughts that trigger negative self talk. Situations, emotions, or thoughts that trigger negative self talk, it has to be identified, because these are, that second point is identify triggers. The first was understanding negative self talk, recognize the enemy, become aware of your inner critic and its negative messages. The second was identify triggers, And now let's begin talking seriously. There are certain steps which are very simple, very concise indeed. The first one is strategies to overcome negative self talk. Strategies to overcome negative self talk, and these are five tips or five strategies. The strategy number one is challenge negative thoughts, challenging the negative thoughts. How can I do this? By question the validity and question the reality of negative self statements. Challenging negative thoughts by questioning the validity and questioning the reality of negative self statements. That is the point number one, strategy number one, to overcome the negative self talk. Strategy number two is practice self compassion. And how can I do this? By treat yourself with the kindness, with the understanding, and with the patience. Practice self compassion by treating yourself with the kindness, with the understanding, and with the patience. The strategy number three for overcoming negative self talk, it is reframe negative thoughts. How can I reframe it? By the way, by replacing negative self talk with positive realistic affirmations. Replacing the negative self talk with what? With positive, with the realistic affirmations. That is how, that is the strategy number three, reframing negative thoughts. The fourth strategy for overcoming negative self talk, it is focus on your strengths. Focusing on what? Focusing on your strengths. How can I do this? Emphasize your positive qualities, your skills, and your accomplishment. Emphasizing your positive qualities, your skills, and your accomplishments. That is how I can focus on my strength and overcome the negative self-talk. Now, the fifth and the last strategy for the purpose of overcoming the negative self-talk, it is the practice of mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness. How can I do this? By stay present and focused on the current moment. By staying focused and by staying present on the current moment. So the five strategies to overcome this negative self-talk. First one was challenge negative thoughts by questioning the validity and reality of negative self-statements. The second was practice self-compassion by treating yourself with the kindness, with the understanding, and with the patience. The third strategy to overcome the negative self-talk, it was reframing negative thoughts, replacing negative self-talk with a positive, realistic affirmation. Now, the fourth point was focus on your strengths, emphasize your positive qualities, your skills, and your accomplishments. The fifth and the last point for the overcoming of negative self-talk, it was stay present and focused on the current moment. Now, that the next step is there are certain additional tips, and these are only five in number. By then we will conclude certain additional tips for what? For overcoming negative self talk. The first one is keep a thought journal. Keeping a thought journal by recording negative self talk to become more aware of the patterns. Recording the negative self talk to become more aware of the pattern. Number two, it is seeking sportive relationships. Seek sportive relationship, that is by surrounding yourself with a positive, with the encouraging people. The third point, third additional tip for the overcoming negative self talk, it is the practice self care. Take care of physical, emotional, and mental well being. Now, the fourth is celebrate small wins, acknowledge and celebrate achievements, no matter how small. The fifth and the last is seek professional help, consult a therapist if negative self talk persists. Now, the five additional tips for overcoming the negative self talk. The first one is keep a thought journal by recording negative self talk to become a more aware of the patterns. The second additional tip for overcoming the negative self-talk, it is seek supportive relationships by surrounding yourself with a positive, encouraging people. The third additional tip for overcoming the negative self-talk, it is practice self-care by taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Now, the fourth additional tip for the purpose of overcoming negative self-talk, it is acknowledge and celebrate achievements no matter how small. The fifth and the last additional tip for overcoming the negative self-talk, it is seek professional help by consulting a therapist if the negative self-talk persists. By following the simple and concise guidelines, you can effectively deal with the negative self talk and cultivate a more positive, more compassionate mindset. That was highly beneficial talk of today. And let's wait for the next item. Thank you very much.